This is ninth list, and we are going to practice the opening lines to the prologue. We'll do them all, but for tomorrow, all you have to do is the first 8. Everybody ready? Please follow me, and I'll try to speak slowly. All right, you should have in front. Please participate. All right, that's the whole point. Now, Ian, what have you got that open for now? Okay. All right, ready? Let's go. One that April with his showers so that the drought of March hath pierced to the rose left, and violet every vine, and switch liqueur, of which virtue engendered is the floor. When Zephyrus eke with his sweeter breath, in spirit hath, in every hope and hath, the tender crappies, and the young Asana hath in the round his halved course Irana. And small and fowlers making melodia, that sleeping all the nick with open ear, so pricketh him nature in her parages, then walk in folk to go on pilgrimages, and palmers for the seeker strandays to Fairnay hallways, couth and sundry Londres, and specially from every shearer's end of England to Canterbury they wend the holy blissful martyr for the sake that him hath helped when that they were saken. That's it. What? Minute? Probably less than a minute. Just got to keep doing it. You got to get serious with it, and there's no easy way to do it. Unless you're really good at it, then it would maybe be easy for you, but for the rest of it. All right, so you don't have to get your book out. Well, if you have your book, I'm talking about Peace Child. Before we get to Canterbury, I wanted just to share a couple of things about the quiz and the test. We have your questions. That's basically the quiz. So turn there. A lot of you didn't understand. I'll just go through the things that seem to be typically wrong. A lot of you didn't understand, not some of you, not a lot, the Tui Asana man custom about the betrayal. Most of you got that, but there were a few. To betray and then to kill, or to fatten up and with kindness and then to kill.
Yeah, but like that's the most important thing. The whole concept is like you're kind to someone so that they trust you,
right?
And then you turn on them and
right.
kill them.
Yeah, I think it's hard once you establish. See, human nature to me is such that once you get to know somebody, it's hard to be mean to them. It's kind of easier to be mean to people you don't know, because you're making assumptions about them, and you maybe you're prejudiced or something like that, or stereotyping. But once you get to know somebody, then to me it's harder. So that really is evil, when you can get to know somebody for the purpose of betraying them. I think that would that is so wicked, which is what these people have mastered. The two ones, a lot of you didn't understand. Somebody said white people, that's fine. I started giving credit for just about anything. They weren't another tribe. I couldn't give you credit for that. The best answer was they were Dutch, because these were actually Dutch, probably military, police, and the reason that the Dutch are there, because they controlled New Guinea for hundreds of years. And so they were actually at the point in the history of New Guinea that they were backing out, and today New Guinea, I think, is a completely sovereign country. But for a long time, the Dutch were kind of ruling them from a long way away. And remember, they tried to create relationships. I gave a lot of leeway to this as well, but giving them things. They would just give them little things like matches, and what were some of the other things?
Fish hook, like fishing style.
Right,
and
just simple.
Not like razor blades.
Yeah, and it had to be shown how to use them. All right, these people were not dumb. They were very smart. It's just that this is new technology. I'm not the smartest guy in the world, But I've gone to college and everything, and I still have trouble with that thing right there. You have no trouble with it. When you get on a computer and you have a computer program in your phone, you're just completely at ease. I still have trouble with it. So it's not a matter of, although I think really, really smart people catch on quicker than others, but I think we all have things that we have a hard time learning. And that doesn't mean you're not smart. It's just that you haven't been taught it, or I'm not smart. Oh yeah, and the Yay tribe guy, a lot of you remember the all-night dance? Again, it's another example of betrayal. Where you particularly, I noticed, made some, did not know, was about the wayness bind. And several of you were very delicate in the way, and as I understand, but it was a way of betraying. It's a bizarre thing. And see, how did you put it? This would be correct. The mother-in-law violated. That's too strong. Touched the private parts of her son-in-law, right? Son-in-law. She did that. She did with a
loaf of bread,
right, and then she ate it. And when you say loaf of bread, what we mean is the sago leaf. Okay, that's out in the open.
What is a sago leaf?
It's just the basic, what do you call it, staple of their diet. It was just the leaves on these. Anyway, it's a bizarre thing, but now he's indebted to her. And what I thought was very interesting, and I won't bother to tell you about the page number, but the whole idea of mother-in-law in our culture is laughed at. Think of all the movies and all the jokes made about mother-in-law. Mother-in-law is always the joke. There was a movie about 10 years ago, Jane Fonda, Monster-in-Law.
Oh, I love that movie.
I've never seen it. But it's the mother-in-law is always the butt of all these jokes. But in this culture, the mother-in-law is more important than the mother.
More important than anyone in the family.
Exactly. And why is that?
Well, they're honored, because they gave their daughter, they gave their daughter to be married. So that's a big, big thing. And it said, they treat, the son-in-law will bring them food every day. And that's their, highest form of payment almost, because food is hard to come by.
And I know it's a little hard to find anything about that culture that you admire, but I admire that. I think we make fun of a very important person in our society, the mother-in-law. By the way, ladies, there's a good chance you will be a mother-in-law someday. Not only a mother, if you're ever a mother, then you'll more likely become a mother-in-law. And you'll take a completely different view of the jokes about, and it's not father-in-laws. Father-in-laws, we get off the hook. I don't know why, it's mother-in-laws. But you will be a mother-in-law. Believe it or not, that's going to happen to you. And you'll appreciate it. I think the idea, this death culture that they live in, is ironic that they really appreciate the life givers. Because what does the mother-in-law produce? The daughter that married the son-in-law so that they could have children. We've forgotten the idea that that is sort of the way cultures are survive. Is to have children. In our country, I know Europe has already reached this point, they are not having enough children. And their culture is going to be destroyed someday because they simply don't have enough children.
The
Europe.
British?
Europeans, and that would even possibly include the British.
Good riddance.
If it lasts long enough, if the Lord doesn't come back, people's culture will be destroyed. Not having children. We're very close to that. You read articles all the time about the generation, I guess, maybe right above you, or I don't know what they're called, but the ones that are already starting to get married, the ones in their 20s and 30s, they're not having children. And that's a personal choice everybody gets to make. But as far as the culture is concerned, if that happens too much, a culture will completely disappear. What did God say at the first command? Be fruitful and multiply. Having children is a good thing. It's a wonderful thing. And this culture understands that, even though they don't understand the value of life in other areas, like they kill each other wantonly with all these different wars they're having, but they get that part right. So anyway, because Connie, and that was Manahem, I'm not sure how he pronounces it, Manahem is the one now who is indebted to his mother-in-law. He's the one that had to betray, that is, invite these people to an all that dance intended to kill them, which is what happens. But a lot of you completely missed, and I need to go back and make sure, but a lot of you said that they were hated for that. But they
No,
were,
I'm sorry, I got that wrong,
Yeah,
and I
they
confused it.
were
Wasn't the last
they
question? 'Cause that was
legendary.
really
They
lost.
celebrated
That's
the
right.
people
I
for
think, like,
doing something incredible, and they were legend makers.
That's right.
Like,
And I'm sorry, I got that wrong.
I hate like reading books by myself and then not being able to like discuss them in like class because it's just not as like, I feel like engaging.
Well,
Like my mind kind of wanders
I
when I
understand.
read.
And it's the only book like that we'll do this year.
Yeah.
But that will begin to change next year. When you get to be an AP as a junior, almost all the books you read on your own.
Oh.
But I appreciate that because that's really, you're actually right. When you get to discuss it, you learn it better. I agree with you. A couple of other things I was going to share without taking a lot of time. You can write this down. I think it might enhance, if you can write these things down, it might help you. If you can wake up and get out your stuff, write it down. Write it down, pencil. You keep pointing. I know I have no idea what's on it. Why don't you do it that way? Just leave it facing me, and then I'll know. Just reach over, and upside down and backwards. Yeah. Yeah. You would be a genius if you could do that. You know I'm kidding.
I know.
All right, let me just give you a few things. The word animism, did we mention that the other day?
Oh, I don't recall.
Okay, I'm gonna write it down. That's basically their religion. Their religion is animism, is when you believe that spirits exist apart from bodies, so that the river has spirits in them, and it's not a monolithic religion, not a theistic religion.
It's like a Native American, like that's what the
Yeah.
Native Americans believe in.
Good,
We learned
that's a-
about that in like.
That's a really good point.
So it's when you believe spirits exist but outside
Out-
the body.
Right, and they exist in objects, that's not really a body. They might exist in places, but not in a body.
When you believe what, sorry?
That spirits exist outside of the body. They're just floating around. That's just, I don't think that actually ever happens. Even the demons have bodies, They're spirits, but they have spiritual bodies. Yeah.
So how do you spell it?
A-N-I-M-I-S-M. I thought this was interesting. I don't have time for this, but I'm gonna do it anyway. Do you know the difference between these two words? It's on page 50. It's T-O-R-T-U-O-U-S and T-O-R-T-U-R-O-U-S. That's an S. Okay, page 50 of your book, I'm not sure it's in your book, page 50, but it says, elsewhere the chronicle twisted and turned so tortuously that it was seldom possible known to the, it was seldom possible to see more than half a mile of the river at any one direction. You know the difference in those two words? Yeah.
I don't know, cause I'm an awful speller, so that what.
The only difference is the R.
Right.
One has an R in it, one does
Is
not.
one like being tortured, like it's torturous to yourself, so it's like very painful or like.
That would be this word.
Okay, and then
Like
is
torture where you inflict harm on someone.
Is the other one like, kind of like, winding,
Yes.
like kind of.
That's
like-
exactly right.
Like this kind of.
That's right. Yeah, so this means, the first one means marked by twists and turns. It could be devious or tricky. So tortuous versus torturous. They're not the same word, and they don't quite mean the same thing, or you could, I just thought that was interesting. We mentioned how the first time peace child on page 35, it's not in your book, so the page aren't gonna help you, but this would be chapter 2. First time the peace child is mentioned, it said, that baby, only that baby could have saved him.
Oh yeah, I got so sad at that part. I was like, dang.
Right, I know.
And I thought he was like gonna go back and get him. I was like, they probably wouldn't let him leave because they
Yeah.
think he's not gonna come.
So wait,
Sure.
like a baby, like they have to give him a baby, they have to give them a baby child?
Yeah, they have to, one tribe has to give a baby to the, I don't know if they exchange the babies, that's, I can't
Sacrifice
remember.
it or like keep it?
What?
Do they like
They'll
sacrifice?
probably
No, they
keep
don't.
it.
In fact, if they kill the baby, the deal is off. The baby has to stay alive. As long as the baby is alive, there's peace between the villages. You'll find this out later, that the idea is if you're willing to give me your baby, then I think I can trust you. You know, you've given up the most important thing you could ever have as a baby, and if you're willing to give that baby up to me to have peace, I think then that's the highest form of trust that in this culture. And so, but I remember I pointed out, I thought the idea that he's the only thing that could save them. They understood this idea, there are not 10 ways to be saved, there are not 100 ways to be saved, there are not even 2 ways to be saved, there's one way to be saved. And that's, of course, the claim of Christianity, is why do there needs to be 100 when we only need one, and it's the perfect way. And so, it's an exclusive thing. But that idea of exclusiveness seems to be, they get that already, the New Guinea, the Sawi people.
So I bet they'll use that to like, you know, tell them about Christianity and Jesus.
Yes.
Like being our peace child, kind of.
Yes. And the last thing I wanted to share was, I thought this was fascinating. This was at the time they were eating yay in chapter 2 or 3, and the comment was made that in the day each individual ate of that flesh, in Yay's case, it seemed to him that his eyes were open to know both good and evil. Does that sound familiar?
Oh, like the fruit from the vine.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's the same language as they actually understood that idea. Now, Don Richardson wrote it, but he understood them, that's how they saw eating of the flesh, which is forbidden by us. And when you do it, your eyes are open to know both good and evil, just like in the garden. So
Did it mention that like the flesh tastes like chicken or something, or am I making that up?
I think you're making that up. I don't know that there'll be any similarity. I don't remember it
They
saying.
could maybe like season it enough where it doesn't taste.
Oh my gosh.
Like some salt and like
I
some
actually did like
ginger.
some turmeric, make it a little better.
Yeah.
Is there like a set law in like separate countries that's in the United States that says don't eat people? Or is it just kind of like implied, like
It's
morally?
generally morally and humanly like.
Yeah, and also I feel like that consists like a murder, like even if you didn't kill the person and you still eat it, that's kind of just like.
Yeah, like a Jeffrey Dahmer, like.
I think that would be worse.
Ship you off to a-
Eating a live person would be worse than eating a dead.
How do you do that?
I don't know.
Well, there's that guy that made
I
like,
mean, if
he
you
killed
don't
people,
know
like
it's
ate them
a
and like made
person,
like
I
clothes
bet
and stuff out of their skin.
someone's
Like it was
like,
like
oh,
weird.
that's my animal.
You're like,
All right, so let's, we've got about 15 minutes, a little less. Go ahead and get out your book. If you have it, you need to give it back to me. The same book I gave you. Some of you have borrowed books. You're going to be responsible for the book I gave you last week, so make sure you keep up with it. This is, now we're moving to Canterbury Tales.
Did we leave off on question 10?
Yeah, let's take a look at it. All right, we are on page, I believe we're on page, did we read about the friar?
Yes.
Okay, so we're on page 10.
I feel sorry.
Hey, guys, let's turn to page 10. You should have your questions there with you, but we're trying to figure out the most important things about each character. And what did we say about the friar?
Actually, we haven't read the friar.
Have we read it?
Just the friar?
Yeah.
I don't.
Okay, we'll read the friar. Yeah,
That's on the monk, I think.
yeah, we're on the friar.
Yes.
Hey, Reagan, would you read for us about the friar? I'm not sure what page it's on. I'm not sure, different page.
It's 10. Oh, it's 8.
Oh, I just said it.
Yeah, it is page 8. Yeah, no, at the bottom, there was a friar.
There was a friar of one son, born and Mary, a limiter, a very festive fellow. In all 4 orders there was none so mellow, so glib, with gallant phrase and well-turned speech. He fixed up many a marriage fitted his young woman that he could afford her. He was a noble pillar to his order, highly beloved and intimate was he with county folk within his boundaries, and city deans of honor and possessions, for he was qualified to hear confessions. Or so he said, with more than priestly skill, he had his on the go. Sweetly he heard his penitents at shrift with pleasant absolution for a gift. He was an easy man in penance-giving, where he could hope to make a decent living. It's a sure sign whenever gifts are given to a poor order that a man's well striven. And should he give enough he knew in verity, the penitent repented in sincerity. For many a fellow is so hard of heart, he cannot weep for all his inward smart. Therefore, instead of weeping in a prayer, one should give silver for a poor friar's care. He kept his tippet stuffed with pins for pearls, and pocket knives to give to pretty girls. And certainly his voice was gay and pretty, for he sang well and played the hurdy-gurdy. At sing-songs he was champion of the hour, his neck was wider than a lily flower. But strong enough to gut a bruiser down, he knew his taverns well in every town, and every inch he went and far made to, better than lepers, beggars, and that true. For in so eminent a man as he, it was not fitting with the dignity of his position, dealing with a scum of wretched lepers, nothing good can come. Of commerce with such slum and gutter dwellers, but only with the rich and jewel sellers. But anywhere a prophet might accrue,
Courteous.
what he was, and lowly of service to natural gifts like his were hard to match. He was the finest beggar of his batch, and for his begging district paid a rent. His brethren did no coaching where he went.
You're doing great. Do you mind finishing it?
Yeah.
I know it's a lot to read.
Though a widow mightn't have a shoe, so pleasant was his holy how do you do? He got his farthing from her just the same before he left, and so the day came. To more than he laid out, and he romped just like a puppy. He was ever prompt to arbitrate disputes of silent days for a small fee, and many helping ways. Not then appearing as your cloister scholar with threadbare habit hardly worth $1,
That's great, thank you. You know, he's almost devotes an entire 2 pages to this guy. He's important because he shows us the really dark side of the church. He works for the church. He doesn't really work for the church. A friar was a para-church individual. He wasn't an ordained priest. He wasn't in the church itself. So you need to know that about friars. If you look at the question starting with number 12.
Oh, wait, I have done 10 and 11.
All right, let's do them quickly.
I haven't done 9.
Yeah, we need, I would know.
All right.
Hunting is his favorite sport.
Okay, hunting is the sport of the month. And then
Yeah.
number 10.
It mentioned that like he did not rate that text out of Block 10, which says that hunters are not holy men.
Say that again?
He did not rate that text out of Block 10, which says that hunters are not holy men. So it was just like say like
Yeah, so
emphasizing that
hunting
like
ranks next to Abbott.
it's like worldly.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it was just
And then number 10, he talks about the more spacious way. We did talk about that. He decides he wants to do it the world's way, not the Bible's way, which is more narrow. He wants to do it. So that's number 10. He wants to live like the world, conform to the world, not the narrow path. And the monk was large, so that means he ate well. He wasn't your typical church person. Remember, monks
He
do work
dressed
for the
like
church.
a king almost.
He dressed like
he
a
had
king.
the finest
Right.
fur and, yeah.
Okay, guys, we need to stay on the same page. We're doing 2 or 3 things at once. Y'all are kind of having your own little thing, and I'm ahead over here, so we need to kind of get that. Only 12 of us, 13 of us, so it shouldn't be so hard to stay together. We're on number 10, and we'll repeat it. I'll read it. What does this statement mean? He let go of the things of yesterday and took the world's more spacious way. And we said Friday that meant that instead of the narrow road, he took the wide road. Jesus talks about a narrow road to heaven, a wide road to hell. And so he prefers the wide road, that's spacious, and it suggests to hell, because he's not. And what does it not mention about the nun or the monk? What two people he never mentioned?
God, like,
God?
they never mention, like, their relationship with God, which makes it seem
That's
like
right.
that's very low on their priority.
Exactly. Or other people. Aren't they supposed to be helping other people instead of pursuing their own interests, like hunting and clothes and eating? So this is a good picture of what's wrong with the church.
Sorry, does it mention anything else about his like looks that's important other than
Just the fact that he dressed the way he dressed. I mean, he has a bald head. That doesn't mean anything. So the fact that he's large does mean something. All right, 11 is just the appearance. Now we go to the friar. Remember, friars are not monks or priests. They don't work indirectly for the church. They are para-church. That means friars didn't even get paid. Like, the only way they got paid was to beg, and that's why this guy's begging. And he was a limiter.
What does that mean?
That means he was limited to a particular area. We used to do that in Greensboro. If you were when it needed to, whatever they call it now, maybe begging isn't the word, soliciting free funds, how about that? You were required to stay in your area, and it was kind of, now that's not true. I think you can go anywhere you want to. I don't even know what the rules are, but they loosened those rules. So he was a limiter. All friars were beggars, and he was limited to a particular spot. What does Chaucer suggest about the friar's character by saying that he charges his penitents for their confession? He claimed he could listen to confession and absolve people. That's probably not true, but he claimed that he could. But he charged them. What does that tell you about him?
He's greedy.
Well, he's only in it for the money. Can you imagine your pastor? Okay, we're baptizing people today. That'll be $50. Pay the usher before you come down. That would be awful. That you're going to pay for those things. and charge for those things. He was also said directly that he was wanton, W-A-N-T-O-N. That means he was sexually impure. Again, he's a church, somewhat of a church guy. Remember, he doesn't work directly for the church, but he represents Christ, and he is immoral. And notice it said things, he gave gift to pretty girls, he likes to sing, he only deals with the rich, he's courteous and humble. Only if he can make a profit, he manages to get money even from poor widows.
Ew, okay, listen, the first time we read this through, I was thinking like, he's a good guy, but when you like read this, I'm like, oh my gosh, what a
So,
creep.
we have done through 14, we have done through the widow, through the friar, and we have a name, Hubert. Most of the people are not given names, but this guy is for some reason, I don't know why,
She might be the main antagonist.
maybe so. All right, so please work on the first 8 lines for tomorrow, we'll see you then.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.